Yes, let me stop you there. Trolls, not fairies. We're talking trolls. It is a alternate history kind of story. I'm like tiptoeing around this plot. Am I even filming? I look like I'm in a nightgown. Hi everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Carrie. Thank you guys so much for allowing me to take that time off. It was just weird. I honestly didn't even read while I was gone. Thank you for all the birthday wishes. Shout out to all my Capricorns. Yeah, it's our season. So it is the last day of my quarantine. So I went to the US for Christmas, came back, and right now we have to do a mandatory 10-day quarantine, even if you're fully vaxxed, everything like that. So that's what we're doing. So if you hear any noises in the background, Kurt is here working. So he's got his headphones in, so hopefully he doesn't judge me too hard for the books I'm gonna tell you about, specifically one, because I read some interesting things while I was in quarantine. So I'm so happy to be sitting down and talking to you. It is so noisy outside, inside. I'm so sorry, but I am so happy to be here, so happy to talk to you guys again. What did I read? I got quite a lot of reading done, actually. My next video will be like the wrap up of December and January, but just this little 10-day pocket. Let's talk about what I read. My voice is already gone. It's not COVID. I got tested twice and I've been inside for 10 days. So, please excuse my sounds. On the airplane, I like to do like comfort reads, because what if I try a new book and it's a dud, you know, then I'm stuck on an airplane with a bad book. So I actually reread Red, White, and Royal Blue. Still cute, still burnt the time, like that. Great. And then I actually reread A Court of Mist and Fury. At first I thought, like, you know, oh, I'm just gonna kind of like, it's on my Kindle, I'm just gonna kind of read it, you know, because I'm not gonna get too invested. And then I like randomly got reinvested. I haven't read it in like 2 years. So I was just like taken back in. So that's what I read on the airplane. But you know what? They killed time. They really did. So now in quarantine, one of these is a series that I finished. I'm gonna go kind of in depth into it. So I'm gonna do timestamps. I'm gonna put them down below and I'll put them on the screen for when you can skip if you do want to read this series. But this is like a series that I just have to talk about a little bit more in detail with someone. So bear with me. But the first book that I read is actually a collection of short stories that I saw quite a few people talking about, so I picked it up. And I technically started reading this during Christmas, and then I was like, this is not a Christmas book. I read The Dangers of Smoking in Bed. It's hard to say that I enjoyed it. Like, these stories are really, really dark. They're all like from the stuff that I have been reading recently. Like, I used to kind of delve more into this kind of writing, but more recently, like in the past couple years, I've been much more into fantasy and stuff. So to come back to this, I don't know, it felt like I was kind of time traveling. But yeah, very, very dark. All of the stories feel kind of like urban legends. Like I'd be at a party and someone would start telling me a story about the weird stuff that happens in their neighborhood or something like that. Like it weirdly all felt like real life. Some of it had magical realism in it. Some of it was just really strange. They all ended very open-ended or in ways that I was just like, is that the end? So if you're interested in that, like kind of these dark tales, that are very rooted in reality, like it's not fantasy, like I said, just a touch of magical realism in a couple of them, give it a go, but definitely be like ready for darker themes, darker language. Yeah, it was like very not in the kind of, not the vibes that I'm usually reading in recently, so I felt a little taken aback, but I also like, they drew me in a weird way. It was like watching a car crash, kind of. It's that kind of feeling where you just can't look away. So that's that. That is the kind of outlier here. And then we're going to dive into 3 that I think are more what I usually talk about. And so the next one is one that was actually recommended by a couple of you guys, because in my best books of 2021, I mentioned how much I loved a book called The Binding. And I got a couple comments saying like, hey, I just read this book that came out in 2021 and it seems really similar to The Binding. You should check it out. And so I was like, yes. So the book is called The Kingdoms. And it's another one of those books where I don't want to give too much away, but it takes place mainly, this is tricky. It takes place mainly bopping in between London and Edinburgh in the 17th century. Oh, this is so hard. It is a fantasy. It is a alternate history kind of story. I'm like tiptoeing around this plot. You start off here. I'll just tell you like what the first chapter is. Let's go there. You start off with a man whose name I don't remember, who has like a sudden bout of amnesia. He's suddenly standing in a train station in London and he's like, whoa, where am I? Why is everything in French? It isn't London, it's like Londres, or however you pronounce it in French. I'm so sorry, I make that face every time I speak French. But yeah, like everything's in French. He's like, where the hell am I? I don't know my name. I don't know what, like how I got here, like anything. And he has like these kind of, like he is aware enough that he knows that something is wrong. Like he's aware that the fact that things are written in French is weird to him, but he doesn't know why. So anyway, he gets taken to a hospital and then eventually to an asylum where he is explained to that this has been happening to a lot of people and usually it goes away. But like, oh, that's right. Ooh, that's an element of the plot I forgot. But like, don't worry, we found your like owner. And it turns out, and this is a part of the book that I felt like did not need to exist at all. I understand that alternate history, you should be changing things in the plot, but like there is a part of the plot where there is slavery in London, and so our main dude is an enslaved person, but it seems like he's more like an adopted son. Like, I don't know, it's very weird. Like I said, like it's super strange, but he has this one memory of a name and it is Madeline, and he just kind of, it just digs into his brain that he needs to find Madeline. And he eventually finds a postcard from a lighthouse way up in Scotland. And he happens to have gotten a job as kind of like this mechanic engineer person. And he manages to get sent up there to help fix the lighthouse that is on the postcard. So he's like, okay, this is it. Like, I'm gonna find Madeline, who I think is either my sister or my wife, which is weird. And I'm gonna, we're gonna figure this out. I'm gonna find out who I am. And at this point he has a child. Like he's been just living this life that he knows isn't his. And so once he gets to the lighthouse, things get really weird and you go on this adventure that takes turns you wouldn't expect. And as I was reading it wasn't like amazing. Like for The Binding, I immediately was like locked onto these characters and I was so invested. For The Kingdoms, I was more just interested in like the plot in general. Like, what is this mystery? How is this working? What's gonna happen? So I wasn't as connected to the characters, but I did think it was really interesting. Did I enjoy it as much as The Binding? No. Did I enjoy it though? Yes. It had a lot of elements that I really love. If you aren't quite sold on this yet, and you want a tiny little hint, I'm gonna give you 2 hints. And so if you don't want to know anything, close your eyes. Are they closed? Close them. I'm gonna put them on the screen. I'm not gonna say it out loud. So it involves this. Keep them closed, keep them closed, keep them closed. Okay, you can open your eyes now. So I hope that entices you. It took me by surprise. I enjoyed it a lot. There were definitely like plot holes and things that I was kind of like, that doesn't make sense, that didn't really work, but overall, I enjoyed it. So thank you to everybody who recommended The Kingdoms. Overall, excellent. Thank you so much. My throat is dying. Oh my god, but we're getting into the good stuff, so hold on. Please don't overheat camera because I need to talk to you guys about a series that I read. So there's a creator that I really, really love, and they recommended a book series. They were like, yeah, I read this when I was younger, and so I returned to it to see if I still liked it, and I did. And I was like, oh, this is everything that I love. It's this like fantasy story, I'm an easy sell that I've never heard of, and that sounds like something I could eat up during quarantine. So I started reading it, and I just have so many questions, and it was so, I don't want to say it was so bad, but like it was not good. So I read Stolen Songbird, and then the sequel, Hidden Huntress, and then the finale, which is Warrior Witch. Oh my god. So what is this about? No spoilers. It's about a girl named Cecile who is a opera singer, I think. Her mother and father are separated. She grew up living on the farm with her brother and her father, but her mom lived in the city, and she was like this glamorous celebrity socialite opera singer. Everyone loves her. And so now Cecile is finally old enough that she is going to be brought into the city to be her mom's protege and become this singer that she is destined to be. And as she's going home, this is all in the first chapter, as she's going home to get ready for her going away party, she gets kidnapped by this like not really friend, like this acquaintance dude who brings her into the mountains where she has always heard stories that there are trolls that live there. And yes, let me stop you there. Trolls, not fairies. We're talking trolls. So, and they never change this. Like, I thought it was gonna be, oh, the rumors about the trolls, and then you get there and they're actually like fairies. No, they're trolls the whole time. They call them trolls the whole time. So whatever mental image you get when you think of trolls. Okay, anyway, there is some kind of prophecy that talks about, of course, a redheaded, blue-eyed girl who can sing. She is somehow going to help break the curse that traps the trolls in the mountain. Yeah, she gets like sold into the troll family. Of course, the prince of the troll kingdom is going to marry her, and that is somehow going to break the curse. That's the story. If you don't want any spoilers, I'm not going to am I going to spoil it? I just need to talk to you. If you don't, I'll give you a timestamp for when you can look at the next book that I'm talking about. The rest is going to be kind of spoilery. So, goodbye. Bye. Issues I had with this book from the get-go. When you get there, all of the trolls are like deformed in some way, and that's a whole nother discussion about how like oftentimes the evil characters have some kind of physical deformity. So that's like, that was an issue that I was kind of like, ooh, not tasteful. But then it turns out that the reason why some of them are deformed is because of incest, because the royal family, like, they need to be full-blooded trolls, and they don't like half-bloods. Like, there's this whole issue with that in the book, like throughout the book, half-bloods versus full-bloods. And so there aren't a whole lot of full-bloods. So they're all like deformed because of inbreeding. And I was like, what? I thought it was going to be like a Beauty and the Beast kind of thing, like breaking the curse made them all look beautiful or something. No. However, the troll prince is the most beautiful person Cecil has ever seen. Like, and he starts talking about how he has a dark secret, and I'm like, it's going to be reverse Beauty and the Beast. So breaking the curse, he's going to become like deformed and trollish or something like that. No. Still no. There's like no explanation for why he's so attractive. Like, so handsome it hurts to look at him is how she describes him. That was like an issue that I immediately had off the bat. I was like, this is strange. Nothing really happens. Like, basically they get bonded or whatever, and the curse doesn't break, and so they're like, oh well, then you have to consummate the marriage, because of course, and they don't. Because Tristan's actually a good guy, surprise surprise. But it was one of those romances, like it was an enemies to lovers romance, but it was one of those things where they didn't have a lot of scenes together. Like, time passed, but we actually didn't get a lot of their interactions, so it felt like they had 3 arguments, and then all of a sudden they were like, I love you, oh my god. And I was just like, what? Like, when did this happen? So that was annoying. Also, just the curse didn't super make sense. Tristan didn't want to break the curse because he didn't want to set the trolls free onto the world. But then Cecil was like, but I want you to be free. And I want all of our other friends, like the half-bloods, the not crazy ones, to be free. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I have notes. Oh yeah. So the whole first book, I will give it credit that like stuff actually happened. Like we understood the curse, we met a lot of characters, we understood the like complicated political whatever. The last two, like it should have been a duology. The last two, like nothing happens. We have to look for the witch that set the curse so that we can kill her, and then the curse is broken. And obviously it was Cecil's mom. Like, you knew that from the second Cecil's mom spoke. So we spent an entire book having Cecil run around trying to find the witch that is living in her house. So that was just frustrating. And then the last one, there is like some kind of weird battle where all of a sudden there are dragons, and all of a sudden there's like the Queen of Fairy, and blah, blah, blah. It just got so strange. I will give them that the characters are supposed to be 17 years old and they act like 17-year-olds. Like, I was so surprised by how selfish and like illogical they were. So like at least they acted their age. I'll give them that. But the ending, and this is like the final spoiler. So if you really don't want to know, please skip ahead. But this is how it ends. Are you ready? The trolls are technically fae, I guess, but like they live in fairy. Some of them came to Earth because they were like, ooh, gold. We don't have gold in fairy. And they stayed there because there was gold. So that's why they're trolls. And then the witch cursed them and they're stuck in the mountain, right? So they break the curse, send them back into fairy, including Tristan. Oh my God. This is just, it's so melodramatic. Cecil has to say goodbye to her troll prince, who is the love of her life, right, that she met when she was 17. As like literally the day that he gets taken into fairy forever, where she will never see him again, she finds out that she's pregnant with his child, of course. So she lives out her entire life, doesn't get remarried or whatever, is just like living, raising this child named Alex. And Tristan just kind of watches, like he can see her through the veil, and he just kind of watches and is like, bummer, you know, this sucks. She's about to die, like she's semi-old age, like not super old, but like I guess she's 50. She's dying, and so he convinces the fairy king to let him go to the other side and be with her. He meets his like adult son, and both of them are just like, hey son, hey dad. Like it was so like, it was very strange. And then he somehow manages to take Cecil. Instead of her dying, he takes her to fairy, where she's now immortal and living with all of her friends and her lover. And like, she's happy that she got to live a mortal life as well. So she got the best of both worlds. What did I just read? Like, reading the last couple of chapters, I was just like, what is going on? Why am I reading this book? It was so strange. So if you want to read a book that you're just kind of like, what is happening? Go ahead. Like, I didn't even think the romance was that compelling. I thought that they kind of treated each other poorly the whole time. They were under a lot of stress. Again, I'll give them this. They were under a lot of stress. So they actually acted like a real couple. I would say like they actually were short with each other and they bickered. They did have realistic fights, like when you're trying to decide how to act when there is war and stuff like that. Like I thought it was realistic, but in that way it wasn't like a really wonderful, compelling love story. And then I didn't like any of the trolls, so I was like, I don't really care if they get free or not. And the fairies sucked. So it was just, I don't know. It was a weird thing. It was a weird thing that I read. I hadn't heard many people talk about it, which is why I read it. And there you go. So if you want to read it, have at it. Cecil and Tristan and Mark. Oh my god, yeah. I can't even get into it. If you've read it, the whole thing with Mark, his whole storyline made me hate Tristan, like effed up, especially the ending. No. So yeah, no thank you. That was Stolen Songbird. Are those all my notes? Yeah, that's all my notes. So it killed time though. It did kill time. So if you're in quarantine, I recommend. And then the last book that I read was One Last Stop. As I mentioned, I really loved Red, White, and Royal Blue, so I was really excited to read One Last Stop. Cindy, who I trust with my life, rated it as one of her favorites of 2021. I think this was just my bad for reading two of this author's books kind of back to back, because I read Red, White, and Royal Blue on the airplane, and then I read this in quarantine. Really good at writing these like quirky, fun, wonderful, fun, found family kind of characters, and they just felt very similar. The second that new characters were introduced in the book, I already knew kind of what they were going to be, how quirky they were going to be and stuff like that. So it wasn't as fun as when I read Red, White, and Royal Blue, because that felt brand new. Let me tell you what it's about. One Last Stop is about a girl who moves to New York City, and she is starting school. She's kind of running away from her mom, who is obsessed with this, like the case of her missing brother. Her brother went missing in the 70s, and she has put her entire life, and thus her daughter's entire life, into this case because it's a cold case and the police aren't doing anything, so they're doing it themselves. So she has this like kind of Sherlock Holmesian tendency of like, she can look at someone and like analyze them and figure out, you know, what their job is and what they do and like all this stuff. She's really observant, really organized, but she doesn't want that. Like, she wants her own life, and so she kind of city hops until she ends up in New York, and she's like, well, this is my new place, let's see. On her commute on the first day of school, she spills coffee all over herself, and this really like hot, nice lady gives her a scarf to like cover up her coffee stain and like go about her day on the Q train. And I know this feeling of, I lived in New York for 4 years, the feeling of like falling deeply in love with someone on the subway for no reason and like completely imagining your life together, blah 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 blah. I'm totally on board. Been there. I get it. Like, so this part of the story, I was like, yeah girl, like I totally understand. Every time she gets on the Q train now, she sees this woman who we find out her name is Jane. She sees Jane and she's just like obsessed, and I was like, yeah. Same girl, same. So that part like was totally realistic. I loved the way that she described New York City and just the subway in general, even though I never really rode the Q. I was more of a D or I guess like the ACE or the DF kind of girl, sometimes the 4. But yeah, I thought that was fun. I thought that the found family was fun as well, because she moves into this apartment and all of her roommates are super quirky. So just like funny characters. She starts working at a pancake house, and the more that she kind of falls in love with this Jane character, the more that she's like, something is weird. This girl is always on my train. Like, she's always wearing the same thing. She doesn't seem like to be of this world, you know? And so we slowly find out, and this isn't a spoiler, this is part of on the back of the book. Jane is stuck on the train, and she is maybe not from the year that our main character is in. Throughout the book, the main character, while they're falling in love, helps her try to find her memories, figure out who she is, figure out how she got stuck so that maybe they can unstuck her. I didn't love it as much as I liked Red, White, and Royal Blue, only because I didn't connect with Jane that much. I would say like the second quarter of the book, which is when we're trying to like recover her memories and stuff. I don't know, I just didn't really enjoy that part for some reason. Like, normally I love like time travel stuff, so I was really confused as to why I didn't get into it, and I loved kind of the other characters so much more. I still really enjoyed it. Like, once I got over that hump of like I said, the second quarter of the book, once I got over that, I enjoyed it a lot more. I liked the ending. I liked how certain things tied up, but it wasn't, I was expecting it to be like one of my favorites of 2022, and it wasn't, which was kind of a bummer. But I did love, again, like I just love books set in New York City, and the way that Casey writes, like some of their writing is just so funny. I'm not gonna rate it, but it was definitely a book that I enjoyed. I was just a little bit let down. So yeah, overall I would say, looking back, I guess Kingdoms. Ooh, is it? I don't know. I guess Kingdoms would be my favorite of quarantine. Followed very closely by One Last Stop. One Last Stop was just, the problem was I didn't have any expectations for Kingdoms, and I had high expectations for One Last Stop, and that always is my downfall. What do I have? Is it called Verity? Verity by Colleen Hoover. I did read This Ends With Us, It Ends With Us, but I'm going to talk about that in my like monthly wrap up. So yeah, I'm going to read Verity today probably after I finish editing this. So yeah, that is what I read during quarantine. I expected to read a little bit more, but I ended up getting caught up in crocheting. I am working on a little shawl that I'm excited about. I also just slept a lot. Like, being in quarantine wrecked my plan for getting back on track as far as time zones. I usually don't get jet lagged when I come back to Korea, but because we were just laying around in the house all day and I couldn't go like outside and walk and be in the sun, I'm still kind of jet lagged. So that's not super fun, but I'm happy to be safe, happy to quarantine, it's fine. So I'm gonna end it here. Thank you so much. If you've read Stolen Songbird, let me know your thoughts. I was just very confused. So I think the trolls thing threw me off. Like, if they had called them anything else, I was just really thrown off by the trolls. So yeah, I'm gonna leave you. I will talk to you guys next week where we do my monthly wrap up. So thank you so much again for letting me take my little break, and see you then. Catch you later.